Okay, once again, grade 9, the quicker we get through this, the better it is for you. Hey, so at some point in this semester, you're going to be asked to write me paragraph responses, and those will be taken into Bro, hey buddy, guess where you're going after this? High school. They're gonna make you do whole essays. You're the type of guy, you strike me as someone who's gonna go to university.
I am
We're at junior high.
Right? When you get to university, they're gonna ask you for like 8, 10, 12 page essays.
Oh.
It's terrible, right?
Can I drop out in grade 10?
Tom's like,
I wouldn't recommend it.
You can though.
So, those two questions we were looking at, right? I think with our class, we actually did take some jot notes down.
no.
Right? But here's an example of a response, and it also breaks it down for you, like what the purpose of the sentences are. So the first one, your topic sentence, when you're responding to a question, and just to review the question, how might making Canada's government more accountable contribute to good government for all Canadians? What other measures might contribute to good government? So the topic sentence just introduces what your paragraph is going to write about it. What you're going to write about in your paragraph. Now, your teachers in the past might have told you like, oh, you got to make some nice big fancy sentence. It's got to like pull readers in. You really don't have to do that. Okay? It just has to clearly communicate what you're going to talk about. So in this topic sentence, this person wrote, in a democracy, accountability is crucial because citizens have to be able to hold the government responsible for its actions. So this sentence lets us know 3 main things we're going to discuss. We're going to talk about democracies in this response. We're going to talk about accountability, and we're going to talk about the government, okay? Which moves us on to our next sentence, which bridges what we're going to discuss and providing a simple example of that. Okay, just like a house requires a strong foundation to prevent the structure from collapsing, a healthy democracy requires an accountability link between the people and the government. So this bridge is very useful. Most people skip it, but most people, from my experience, get 60s to 70s on their writing assignments, or 50s. You don't want to be there, right? This bridge helps to demonstrate your knowledge and understanding of the material. Okay, so those of you who have highlighters, feel free to highlight, color coordinate with the colors up here. You can also just put the things in bracket if you only have pencil and point to what's what. Okay, because this paragraph is done very well, and it gives you a really strong idea of how you should structure your paragraph responses, how you should respond to any paragraph writing assignment in social studies. LA English, they're going to be a bit different. Your teacher should teach you on that in those classes. Okay. So again, this bridge sentence helps to really distinguish students who are excellent at writing, good at writing, and students who are just responding to the question. Not that there's anything wrong with just responding to the question. Again, you got to prioritize where your skill set is. Like some students just naturally aren't very good at writing and articulating. Maybe they're better at math and science, right? It's challenging, but yeah, if you can add in a bridge sentence, excellent. So in their response, this person gave 3 points and they gave supporting details. That is necessary. If you just give your point, you just make your point, but you don't support why you're writing that, why you believe that. Again, in terms of an assignment, it limits your marks. But in terms of the benefit of writing on your thinking ability, like you want to have these details sorted out in your mind because it gives you clarity of thought. Okay? Your thoughts are no different than your words and your writing. Okay? So the more clear you are in your thinking, the more clear you are in your writing and your expression and your ability to speak. Okay? The first point this person made is the most obvious way Canadians hold government officials accountable is through the election process. Their supporting detail states that because there are no obstacles to voting and votes are cast using a secret ballot, Canada's election process is free and fair. Furthermore, federal elections must be held every 5 years or less, ensuring that the majority of citizens are happy with the job the government is doing. A government no longer considered effective by the majority of electors will not remain in power. So this person is communicating to whoever's reading this that they understand how the Canadian government system works. And they're also making some inferences on how citizens play a role in keeping the government accountable. The main point they chose is that through elections, who we vote in and out of office is one of the primary ways that we keep people accountable. And just to remind you, you don't need to do any writing, but if you want to highlight some details, if you want to take a jot note down, although this video will be posted, so. Okay. Their second point is citizens hold the government accountable because they have the right to participate in Canada's democracy in many ways, such as petitioning the government with concerns. Supporting detail, in January of 2021, constituents wrote an open letter requesting that UCP MLA Pat Wren resign, saying that he habitually missed meetings and showed a lack of effort toward his job as MLA. A week later, Wren was removed from the UCP caucus by Premier Kenney. Okay? So again, making the point that in a democracy, you have the freedom of expression. You also have the freedom to criticize and point out the errors of your politicians. You're allowed to do that, but you have to do it in a legal manner, in a civil manner. And the manner that they chose was to get a number of constituents, it doesn't say how many, but I would assume a lot, to raise the concern to the party leader that, hey, this person who was elected isn't doing their job. Additionally, just for the record, MLAs make about, I believe they make about $120,000 a year. Okay. That's taxpayer dollars. And their job is to attend those meetings, to be involved in the community as well, to partake and participate. And if they're not doing that, they're not doing their job. It's the citizens' job then to keep that person accountable, to keep the party accountable. Right, and that's what this person is hashing out with their supporting details. The Federal Accountability Act was passed into law to protect people who report suspicious behavior in government departments, and it allows those under suspicion to be investigated and charged if they are found guilty. Okay, and that's the document we looked at yesterday, right before class ended. Supporting details, in 2004, members of the Provincial Liberal Party in Quebec were using federal funds that were supposed to be used for cultural events to reward their political friends. Sadly, this is not the only time something like this has occurred in Canada. In 2019, the Attorney General faced pressure from Prime Minister Justin Trudeau to defer prosecution of SNC-Lavalin, so to kind of not prosecute them, on the charges of fraud and bribery. Ms. Wilson-Raybould did not bow to this pressure and ended up taking the story to the news and quitting the Liberal Party. They conclude just by wrapping up the main idea here by stating that Canadians can be comforted that policies like the Federal Accountability Act are in place to protect citizens from the abuses of the government. So again, main ideas here is that anytime you make a point, you make a statement, you're trying to argue for something in a social studies written response, you have to back it up with evidence. Your evidence can be factual. It can also be things that you derive from those facts, so inferences, right? Your own thinking. Facts are great, but don't just list out several facts. That's not enough to demonstrate your critical thinking, not enough to demonstrate your ability of thinking. You're just re-narrating information, so don't do that. You gotta have a topic sentence, so introduce what that paragraph is gonna discuss, and then you always wanna have a concluding sentence to wrap up your ideas, right? If you don't do that, then your paragraph is like a car driving off a cliff, right? It's not gonna be fun, right? You wanna bring the car to a stop with your concluding sentence.